This is Francesco Abbruzzino with the Uncensored Report. I was reading an interesting article, and it's in regards to the more surveillance and at the courtesy of the Pentagon, which, believe it or not, is normally where this technology comes from. And it covered a story where you have this guy that basically, his name's Joseph Marks. He writes for NextGov, published an article I want to say last week, maybe it was the week before that. And most MSM just ignored it. Some may have picked it up but obscurely hid it over in the corner. But it talked about the Pentagon and the big plan to basically solve identity verification and a process that will come into play in 2 years. And this project that they have will revolutionize the way that companies, the way that the government, the way that the police, military can basically identify individuals via their commercial phone. And organizations can use these tools to put a risk score. And this risk score will essentially, it's not like in China, that risk score, but this risk score will give them the idea if it is truly you. And I'm sure you can understand a lot of the other applications that could be used out of something like this when you start to delve into this information. Here's the problem, though. And it's something they just skirted over, and that's basically that this software, of all the commercial smartphones that are out there that you buy on a phone, they got that biometric data, and it can be transmitted, and it can be transmitted by all phones, not just to, as this guy said, the contractors within the federal government or the military or the company. It's going to go out to everybody, It still amazes me when people say, oh, it's on the cloud, but XYZ company says it's safe. Whatever. The government will have a backdoor, essentially, to all cell phones out there. And they can track them. They can go into them and survey you. And you would never know anything about it. And it's just another identifier that's out there with these built-in chips and the GPS tracking system that's encrypted in there. So if you look at this, and it was a real interesting article in there, they even tell you when they put out this information that the GPS tracking will be used to monitor. It will be used to store your movements, everything you decide, because it has to use all those variables to come up with a risk factor. And it'll give them these anomalies, anomaly, which basically will tell you if it's normal, abnormal, or whatever the situation is. Then it will come in with this risk score. And anything outside of the basic stuff can be listed as an increased score, which means that it may not be you. There may be a higher probability that it's somebody else out there. And the industrial military complex, which is why you see the Eisenhower video down there. He's talking about the industrial military industrial complex in it. But he warned us about this. He warned us about the militarization of the government, of the police, of the even in some companies, if you will. And you just don't have to look too far. We now have fusion centers. You got pillboxes without specific addresses with these fusion centers, and I'm laughing because of something else I uncovered, which I might do another report on, which happened today. You get the green light from the FCC, or they'll basically turn a blind eye to the oath that they have out there in regards to reading emails, in regards to accessing your social media accounts, and all that stuff that Snowden covered in regards to the government and their spying techniques. And basically, the Pentagon is when you got the Pentagon, they use these military matters, such as the NDAA that Bush put out there, and which Obama fine-tuned, which basically redefined the battlefield out there, so that the enemy includes the domestic population, the continental United States. The war on terrorism, we all know about it, and it justified military actions against the United States citizens, which are strictly prohibited, not prohibited, in the Constitution of the United States. And this is being conducted by the state, by the deep state, if you will, against us, the states. And if you're an enemy to conformity, if you're an enemy to, globalism, totalitarian dictatorship and all that stuff, then you're an enemy to the United States. But it's interesting. This is just one more aspect of where they're going to be delving in. And people will say, I don't care. I got nothing to hide. Yeah, heard that, been there, seen that. I could tell you some stories. All right, everybody. This has been Francesco Abbruzzino with The Scoop News.